please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Jeff, let's have roll call, please.
Journey.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
Briggs.
Here.
Cavalier.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Platt.
Here.
Menard. Ibna.
Here.
Okay, it's time for the open forum. If anyone would like to address council on any issue not already on tonight's agenda, may come to the podium, state your first, last name and address, please. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Mayor, council members. Michelle Christofferson. I'm at the University of Minnesota Crookston, but I live at 723 Sunset Avenue. The University of Minnesota Crookston just would like to lift up a few of the activities that they have going on with the collaboration with the city of Crookston. On Thursday this week, we have an art and garden tour. Many of you will remember that we were receiving some grant dollars to further extend and reignite the Allen and Frida Peterson Community Garden. That's going to be taking place on Thursday. The tours begin as early as 4:30. There's guided and self-guided tours throughout the art and garden on campus. But if you're looking for a little more festiveness, continue through the tour, and at 5:30 to 7 in the Allen and Frida Peterson Garden, we'll be having live music, hors d'oeuvres, and a cash bar that will be available. So please come out. That lasts until 7. We know that many people would like to enjoy their long Labor Day weekend. We'd like to especially thank the city of Crookston for this opportunity because that property is owned by the city but managed by the university. And so it's been a very unique relationship, but it's been fun working with all the department heads, with Carrie and EDA, the Northwest Regional Sustainable Development Partnership, the Northwest Regional and Outreach Center, the University of Minnesota Crookston's horticulture program. The Crookston Area Community Fund gave us a $10,000 chunk of change for us to further ignite and to extend that particular space. Walmart, and then also the Crookston Visitors Bureau. So if you haven't had a chance to get out there and take a look at that garden, please do so. It's pretty amazing. The pergolas are amazing, and please know that they are not permanent. They are temporary because it is not owned by the university. It is city-owned property. So we've been doing some really good work in collaboration with the city of Crookston and the EDA department. So thank you for that. Voter engagement is a critical component for our institution as a land-grant institution. So on September 16th, 17th, and 18th, we're going to be hosting some voter registration get-togethers with the community of Crookston down at the Nest on Monday. On Tuesday, we'll be working with our students to get them registered to vote, and on Wednesday, we'll be at the Golden Link. So if you know of someone who is not a registered voter, we will be getting that information out to you. It will be forwarded on to Carrie because we are also working with the Crookston EDA office, particularly the University of Minnesota Crookston, for a Meet the Candidate Forum. It's coming up in early October, so she'll tell you a little bit more about that. John Vaughn from Fresh Energy, Mitch Berg, and myself will be working with a group of students. We will be canvassing the community of Crookston in wards 1, 4, and 5, likely the week of the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of September. We will not be selling anything. We will be leaving information for a weatherization audit so that residents can go online and fill out a survey and better provide us with information about that for John and Mitch's project that they have going on. I think that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Anyone else?
I'm Val Tuseth, and I am the chairman of the board for Scruffy Tails Humane Society. And I'm coming to you today because we are at a make or break point with the Humane Society, as far as finances go, and the source of that being a astronomical drop in donations that have happened this year. Through calendar 23, we received over $114,000 in donations. As of June 30th, we had received $14,000 in donations. Kind of hard to run. So the biggest problem for the city other than all of you who care about animals, is we also have your impound. And I have enough money to pay for payroll this month, and it's going to be very much a paycheck to paycheck situation. So if there is any help that the city can offer, I'd really like to hear about it. And I've talked to Chief about some of the issues as far as impound goes. We are looking at having to shut it down because there just isn't enough
The
money.
question, some of your prior donations that you've had in the past, were they, a lot of them from the city of Crookston residents?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we get a lot from City of Crookston residents, people throughout the county, a few from up by in Marshall County because we also have an impound agreement with them. So some of the money comes in from there. So it's just, I realize that most 501Cs have experienced a drop in their donations this year as well, and we expected one, but we didn't expect it to be this much. And as a result, we've been running on our savings, and now our savings they're almost zero. They're at about $600 right now. So we're running out of cash. So if anybody has any ideas, I'd like to hear them.
Have you guys done like any type of fundraisers this year? I know that you guys have been really good in the past.
Yes, we do.
I just haven't seen anything recently.
Actually, our fundraisers are about the same that they've been every year. And we had some renovations going on, but that was all grant money specific, so we can't, spend it for operating. The biggest change is the change in donations. And we ordinarily see more donations last quarter of the year, and I think that's a pretty common behavior. For most of us, gets to the end of the year and you're gonna do your charitable donations in time for taxes. So hopefully there'll be some more coming in that last quarter. And we generally do a big fundraiser then as well, and there is one planned, but we'll have to see. I gotta be able to keep open between now and then.
What is your typical donations in like 2023 from the first of the year till, let's say, end of August?
Typically, we run in the 80,000 range, in that range, 75 to 80. Yeah.
And it's a monthly operating budget, like.
Off the top of my head, we're about $12,000 for salary, $1,000 for utilities. We don't have any debt, so it's just operating monies. So.
Have you talked to any of the folks that have donated in the past and why they're not donating now, or any feedback at all?
Honestly, yeah. A lot of it, of course, is the economy. And the other thing that I'm hearing was the implosion over at Circle of Friends. And people just aren't donating. And I heard that a lot from the community. People coming in, it's like, well, why are we doing this? So.
Do they think that you're associated with Circle of
A
Friends?
lot of people do. And I have no idea why, but no idea why. They never have been associated. So it's not even, state of state, you can't even do it, so.
So Val, when is your next fundraiser?
There's a small fundraiser going on the weekend that we're doing, the Historical Society is doing theirs. Since we're all kind of on the same neck of the block, we're gonna do one then. We have some small ones like a dog wash and things like that. The big fundraiser that was planned is a purse auction in November. Those have been quite profitable for people that have done them in the past. So that was gonna be our big one in the last quarter.
What is your immediate need?
Immediate need would be operating funds. I probably need, well, we're gonna probably need $10,000, maybe $15,000 a month to stay open.
Did you say 10 or 15,000 a month?
A month to stay.
Yeah, salaries 12 and the utilities are 1.
Salaries and utilities, and that's not counting our veterinary expenses.
Can you give me a point of reference on your payroll versus say, how much has your payroll went up over the last few?
In the last 3 years, our payroll has probably increased about $4,000.
How many people do you have on payroll?
I have 2 full-time, 4 part-time, and I have a veterinary tech that's very part-time. My part-time staff, nobody makes more than $14 an hour. My manager makes $20 an hour, and the very part-time veterinary tech, because we've got to pay her, is $24 an hour, but she only works 2 half days a week. So we're not spending a lot of money, and no one has benefits.
So other places like yourself, like outside of our area, does most of their income come from donations?
Most of theirs comes from donations as well. You know, that's the difference between a shelter and an animal rescue. If you're an animal rescue, there's a lot more expense attached to that, but generally, there's more government funds that are available. Shelters are pretty much donation and fundraising.
So is there other shelters such as yourself that are struggling as well?
Yep, Pennington, I know is, yeah, Pennington County, they are, I was up there about a month ago and she said their donations are way down. They have a few predictable, generous people that cut them checks
So
now and then.
what's the main difference between a rescue shelter and a shelter such as yours?
A rescue actually has to have on-site veterinary care, which we don't. That would be almost impossible, I think, in this area, have a vet on staff, even to have.
The reason why I'm asking is if the funds sounds like there's a lot of funds available if you're a rescue shelter.
Right.
Would that, have you penciled that out?
I really don't have the facility to run a rescue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're a no-kill shelter. Not that we never euthanize an animal, but we don't have a lot of shelters have a time limit where if you can't adopt that dog out in 4 weeks or 6 weeks, they're euthanized, and we don't do that. So that increases your expense. And frankly, we've had a lot of animals coming in that are injured or sick. And this time of year, it's kind of cat season, so they come in litters. We'll get 6 kittens at a time, and part of being a animal shelter is you don't adopt out an animal that's not spayed or neutered. And if they're underage, you can adopt them out, but they're sent you have an appointment with X vet on this day to have that animal spayed or neutered, and if they don't show up, we have to pay for that. So, yeah, which I get, if I was the vet, I gotta make a living too. So there's a lot of expenses attached to it, and then we make sure they're vaccinated, of course, so.
You'd say your biggest expense is salaries?
Salaries and vet care, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Nate, anybody on the phone bridge, please?
Nobody on the phone bridge, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, no presentations tonight. This brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add anything to tonight's agenda?
Yeah, I would like to,
That would be, I think,
well, it's adding, so I don't know if it's here or the next
on
one.
the consent one.
Okay. I'm good.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clayton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Don. Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Sorry, I'm not used to Ashley not being here.
problem.
Briggs,
Here.
Cavalier,
Here.
Alt,
Aye.
Aye.
Clat,
Aye.
Menard is not present. Hibma,
Aye.
Judy,
Aye.
and Fisher.
Aye.
Are you
Okay,
supposed to roll call the same person?
Pardon?
he is all correct
Okay.
about it, so
Okay.
next one you start with,
Jurdy.
Councilmember Jurdy.
They're all, the directions I have said to start with the bold person, and they're all bolded the same person.
It'll
All
work,
right.
it'll work. Motion carries. Okay, this brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to remove 6.03, 6.04, 6.05.
Okay. Anyone else? Can I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Christie. Roll call, please.
Judy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier. Aye. All,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Hibma.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. No public hearings. This brings us to the irregular agenda.
Yes, Your Honor. 8.01, resolution regarding the approval of the Crookston recreation policies. This is brought forward after review by the Parks and Rec Committee that the council sent back previously.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So move, Your Honor.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We heard Delane. Discussion.
I just want to just bring it to attention, I know it was a conversation that we had last time about the water and about Club Kid and making sure that we're really being more diligent about temperatures, and I know it didn't make it into the policy, but I do think that needs to be like in the SOP at least, or standard operating procedure as to when we're providing water and bathrooms appropriately going forward with Club Kid. So.
That is part of the discussion with the policy, correct, Jake?
It was, but it wasn't put into the actual policy. My understanding is that it should be something that is more standard operating procedure. Is that not correct, Jeff?
Yes, city, the legal has identified that to avoid guaranteeing such things from in a policy, but as far as our operating
liability.
procedures, yeah, as far as our procedures, we can have that as part of our procedures for events. However, as a policy matter, we want to avoid guaranteeing one of the unintended consequences that would be possible, not saying whether or not it would. As an example, we have a baseball tournament. The coaches read our policy, they say, oh, look, they guarantee they have this. We no longer have to provide anything to our players because the city's gonna do that. And we've got 10, 12, 15 people or teams. That is a significant issue.
I think at the end of the day, it just needs to be standard practice.
I
And
think
so,
also though is falls under parents' responsibility too, and I know even with our smaller groups, Club Kid, there is, wherever they meet, there is access to water, I'm hearing,
there isn't always,
so.
and the bathrooms weren't accessible either at some point as well. And I think that, I will tell you currently, being a parent, having heard from parents that one bottle of water is not gonna be sufficient enough for kids when it's 90 degrees outside.
I understand.
And you also can't expect a 5-year-old sometimes, or an 8-year-old sometimes doesn't forget their water, and then what's the alternative? So I'm just trying to make sure that there's always access to water in these spaces because it is very hot out there. So I'm not here to argue about it, I'm here to say that we need to make sure that we're guaranteeing a safe environment for our kids.
I understand that, and I also, you're the one that pulled this, no offense, to bring it back to Park Board. They discussed it at the Park Board meeting on Monday. Maybe you should have attended to make sure all this was in
Well, I
place.
had the conversation with the city administrator, and I understanding that it
To
isn't part of
hear
policy, but standard
Hear where the
procedure.
board's coming from too.
Yeah, and I understand that.
Okay,
I also would love to say that if we're gonna have representatives that are supposed to be at each of these different meetings, that they should be coming back and bringing that information to us, and that the expectation can't be that council members are at every meeting.
that's
So-
not what I'm saying.
This
But
was
I'm-
one that was important to you.
No, and I understand that, I'm just saying, I understand the policy, but
Okay,
I'm just
let's
saying,
move
going
forward. So you wanna kick this back to?
No, I don't wanna kick it back, I think it's fine, I just wanna say that going forward, we should have standard procedures for how we run things, even if it's not policy, due to liability. I don't think that's
Further
a
discussion.
horrible thing.
Roll call, please.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Alt,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Hibma.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay. 8.02, resolution regarding contract for school resource officer with Independent School District 593. I have received notification from the chief, the school board did vote to approve the draft contract that we have in front of us. The significant changes are that we are eliminating references to the school resource officer being a school official to comply with state statutes, and the language has been adjusted thus. City legal has reviewed the policy. One important change I would like to identify is that there is an addition to this agreement that the school board will be providing lunches for the school resource officer moving forward, as it is encouraged that the resource officer be present during lunches. And in order to facilitate that, the school board has agreed to cover that cost. Other than that, it is virtually a very straightforward agreement that follows the pattern of what we've had in the past with those changes, and which were required for statutory compliance. The officer would be identified as an interested official so that they still have access to the information they need to do their jobs, but they're not a school official. Technical legal definition difference.
Thank you. Further? Let's see, we need to have a motion on this.
Yes, sir.
So do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you. Delaney, is there a second?
I'll second it, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clayton. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Jurdy?
Aye.
Fisher?
Aye.
Briggs?
Aye.
Cavalier?
Aye.
Alt?
Aye.
Platt?
Aye.
Hibma?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Resolution regarding 8.03, resolution regarding appointing Holly Eckstein as the finance director for the city of Crookston.
Let me have a
Yes, sir.
resolution for, call for the motion first.
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll approve it, Your Honor.
Thank you. Don, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Wendy. Now we're gonna have discussion.
Yeah. Resolution 8.03, resolution regarding appointing Holly Eckstein as new finance director for the city of Crookston. Mayor, members of the council, our position has been vacant since April of this year. We've gone through several cycles of hiring. I have interviewed a few candidates that met the qualifications. Last week, I did interview an individual that had very strong qualifications. And Councilmember Menard, Chief Seltzer, myself, and Lance from CLA sat in on the interviews. As we came through, we find that we want someone that is familiar enough with our systems and our processes to hit the ground running. And out of the candidates that we've interviewed, while the academics were there, the experience level, we find that the best qualified individual was already in-house. Holly has 6 years' experience as a chief deputy auditor for a county. She's been with us and been instrumental working with CLA to help us clear our items. She has experience, she is fluent with Encode 9 and Encode 10, and in the upcoming year, we're going to be transitioning from one to the other. And it is the opinion of Lance and Michelle. I'd spoken previously, I've not spoken with her in the last week and a half, but I had spoken to her previously. They are both of the feeling and the opinion that it would take minimal additional training to bring Holly up to speed on some of the higher level accounting functions required for the position, and that it would be expected she would be able to, I guess the word, spread her wings after about 4 to 6 months of training, at which case she could move forward. I would recommend next year we have some limited engagement, again, for audit prep on a first year.
So where's that additional training coming from, and how is that going to be?
We do have an ongoing service agreement with CLA their hours would be reduced from current, obviously, because right now they are doing our full audit prep and essentially acting as our finance director.
So
over
the
next
training will
few-
be coming from them?
The training would be coming from them as Holly and Lance are writing the policies.
What
that-
about any additional external training, that workshops or anything like that, that we can,
It would be normal for her to be a member of GFOA, and I would be, and I intend on budgeting money to send her to the conferences as we would with any finance director. And GFOA has great training opportunities and training facilities to move forward, to help us to move forward with that.
would you make us aware if there's conflicts for not going to those types of trainings?
Pardon?
Will you make us aware of conflicts if this person's not able to make it to those types of trainings?
That can absolutely be implemented.
Because in the past, I know we've had suggested trainings and they weren't happening. So I mean, I think the council should know that if there's training available and they're not going, we need to know that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am a very strong believer in training. Keeps us up. Even someone who has many years of experience, they still want to go through because things are constantly evolving. So that is something that would be a regular occurrence regardless, but yes, that can most assuredly, if anything is available and scheduled but missed, council can be made aware.
So I realize you're been having trouble finding and filling this position. So what are the qualifications of this candidate? What are their education background?
Holly has an associate's degree in accounting. We've confirmed with UMC that many of the credits that she has will transfer to a bachelor's degree, and she is planning on continuing her education to complete that bachelor's degree.
So what about city financing?
City financing, she came from Thief River Falls, where she was working with the municipal, as well as six years with Red Lake County. With Red Lake County as the deputy chief auditor, or chief deputy auditor.
All right.
Further discussion?
This will leave another vacancy in the city, right?
This will.
And how hard do you expect that to be to fill?
The accountant position, I think, will still be a challenge. I hesitate, but I will quote one of our absent council member. We are rural northwestern Minnesota. So, however, I feel that it would be a much easier fill for an accountant slot than it would be for a finance director slot, given the skill sets required. Holly has been in that position for some time and would obviously be an obvious go-to to help fill that void, any training requirements on our internal processes, internal systems. I do have a few candidates that we felt were not quite ready for the seat from the finance director applicant pool that I intend on calling for interviews. Just so that the council is aware, I did offer the position as accountant tentatively to one of the other candidates that was interviewed. However, the salary level that we were able to provide was too close to where they currently were, and they were not displeased with their current location. So they are staying in their current location.
So as far as, I mean, understand the reason why I'm asking these questions. We've had troubles with, as you know, with our finance department for a lot of years, and it just seems like every time we feel as a council that we're going down the right path, we're like 6 months into something that we shouldn't have been in, and it's like, okay, we gotta start all over again. So the questions that I'm trying to ask here is, what types of safeguards can we get put in place here in this position, I guess, to make sure that we're not underwater if something's not going right?
Is this where you could put in a acting position or a lengthy probationary period or something like that?
Well, excuse me, I even think, you know, cause, Clifton Larson's still gonna be here. So, you know, I just feel that, you know, I think we can keep them on a retainer as long as possible.
I mean, I appreciate that. Is it possible, even though we have our normal audit and it seems like when we have our audit, we figure out, holy crap, you know, we missed the boat. So is it possible to have, you know, once we're maybe on our own and we're sailing, can Clifton Larson come in and maybe quarterly, monthly or something and maybe report to the council how everything is going?
Yeah, I believe they are on a continuing service contract in addition to the audit. Lance is here, so he can speak more directly to what is possible, but I feel, meetings with Lance and senior management with Clifton Larson, that is well within the realm of the continuing service contract we have in place.
I think it would also be nice to like keep making sure that we're staying on track and all of that is we set for whoever this position is, a requirement that books are closed by a certain date and that we're, as council, we're receiving like month-end statements because I think that gives a good idea that we're staying on track, right? We're not a year behind in month-end closes.
That is my normal mode of operation, is to provide updates. In our circumstance, I would understand the desire for monthly updates. In my past positions, it's normally been quarterly, but I do understand the desire for monthly at this juncture.
And for a while on the council, since I've been sitting here, we did get updates, but they weren't correct. We found out after the fact they were
Inaccurate,
correct at all.
and the books weren't actually balanced as they should have been monthly.
Lance, is it possible to address some of these questions up here, please?
Yes, where would you like me to start? What's that?
At the beginning.
At the beginning.
At the beginning.
Well, I think, you know, to make sure, you know, if Holly is in this position, that she is heading in the right direction and not getting overwhelmed and probably underwater.
Yeah, as Jeff and I have already discussed, we'll plan to stay on as long as need be. You know, doing regular check-ins, providing the support needed to get Holly set up, get off on the right foot, and get down the right track. You know, there is going to be a little bit of a transition period as she gets up to speed, kind of in that finance director role. And also if there's someone else coming on board in the accountant role as well, just getting everyone caught up on the day-to-day activities at the city. You know, we can be here to provide as much or as little support as needed. And as Holly gets more and more comfortable, you know, obviously that will taper off. But in the meantime, we're here to support and make sure that she's on stable ground.
And the main thing I want to let Holly know is that the council is here to support her. So, I mean, I think if there is any issues, good, bad, or indifferent, I mean, obviously, you know, Jeff is a resource, but if that's not working, come to council. We're here to get you the stuff that you need to do your job. And that's, I think, what some of the stuff that was happening maybe in the past is, I think the finance director maybe felt handcuffed, that they maybe needed more, that maybe I don't know.
They didn't.
I just think.
I think there's more than that. I think there was some competency issues. I think there was just a lack of like literacy, financial literacy that was there. I think the other thing that Clifton Larson was actually brought in for was to provide SOPs. So we have standard operating procedures. And we are doing best practices, which is not something we've done in the past. And so I think if we can actually have maybe you come in quarterly, halfway through the year, just to see maybe where Holly is, making sure that we're on track with those things and that the things that we have done to change for best practice are being followed appropriately. I think that probably would be best bet at this point.
I would agree with that.
I would also say to Jeff, and I agree with Wendy, is that I think that having some type of probationary period, because we've been burnt so many times at this point, to make sure that we have hired the correct individual, I think would be somewhat more of a a benefit to us as council to make sure we have the right person in the right job.
I think if we get the right reports and so forth, and we can put our trust in what's happening instead of just having bad reports all the time, so.
I also think that we need to be conscious of the cost too, because this has not been a cheap cost. And I understand that it's worth what it is, but I think we also need to be on our own feet and actually being conscious of that piece of it as well, so.
Yeah, and I get that and I appreciate that as well, but, you know, the cost of not doing it right, the cost our.
No, I agree with you, I'm just saying that it should be a conversation that we're having as well, since it is public money, right? So, to be conscious of it.
Thank you, Lance.
Thank you. Absolutely. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Riggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Alt,
Aye.
Clat,
Aye.
Hibma.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Six oh three will come, 603 will come, 60.
Yeah, this is 808.04.
603, 605.
So, I'll read the resolution for 603.
Yes, resolution 8.04, resolution to approve the rezoning of real property located within a portion of parcel 82.00163.01 and all of parcel 82.00008.00 in the city of Crookston.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So move, Your Honor.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Henry. Discussion. Now, I know this property is related to the egg property out on the south end. Concerns with that one?
So what is this, Jeff, could you go through this and what this is about?
This is the parcel, I believe, make sure that I'm looking at the right map. This is the parcel related to the railroad spur on the South Front Street.
This one is rezoning from industrial
From 1 to 2.
to
I believe.
light industrial.
Yes.
One.
So I think this was heavy industrial and it's going to light industrial.
What
Just
area?
that- Just that section that's on this piece here.
No, okay.
Okay,
And the reasoning for that?
The reasoning is, basically it's gonna be, once the spur is in, I think it's gonna be more of a distribution area to bring
So
trucks
this is like for
in.
storage for the rail spur?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's the only, it's being rezoned.
It has to do with the allowable uses in each of the industrial,
Okay.
different industrial zones. Whereas this being more of a logistics transportation use, it's a more appropriate zoning.
Okay. This was the whole idea that there would be places, if we do have the rail spur, right, coming in, that farmers and other individuals who are wanting to utilize that spur, have a place to store their stuff until the trains come to do what they need to do. So that would just be the use case.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Alt,
Aye.
Hibma.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, 603.
did I vote?
I was like, I
Oh,
remember Clyde.
I apologize, Clett. I had to go to a handwritten version and I had dropped Councilmember Menard off. Clett?
Aye.
Now motion carries. I apologize too. I was looking for the next.
Apologies, I went to a handwritten and I took Councilmember Menard off as he is absent.
Resolution here.
That's okay.
Okay. Next item is
603. 5.
condition. 604 became 60.
became 805.
Yeah.
3, 4, and 5.
CRK Enterprises.
3, 4, 5.
Resolution.
Okay.
Regarding conditional use permit, it's,
This one is 604. Yeah,
it's the top one.
this one here, 802s.
It's 8.05, resolution regarding conditional use permit with respect to parcel 82.00186.02.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Morgan. Discussion. Now, this one here is this the downtown one?
Yes, this is, yes, CRK Enterprises, this is really, this is the, my brain just froze up.
The Scooter's Coffee,
Yeah, coffee,
Scooby's Coffee?
Scooter's Coffee, yes.
Scooter's
permit
Coffee.
to allow them to have it there.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
So we already voted on this, I believe, once as a city, right? I know they came to planning commission to reaffirm, but do we have to reaffirm our,
Reaffirming.
I was not present for the original vote, I believe, that predates my tenure.
is there anything that's changed from our original?
I think it's, I don't know if it's changed or what it is, but I don't think they're gonna be in the building anymore. They're gonna have a kiosk.
Yeah, it's gonna be within the parking lot. It's not gonna be in the
The building.
That could be why.
Yeah.
And conditional use permits generally are only like for a year or something out from the initial request, so I don't know if like that had expired or not, but that could have been another reason.
So, I mean, we already gave like I approved like an RP loan. Does this have to go back to them for,
No.
did we do?
The loan and the permitting for planning and zoning are two different things.
Right, but I mean, if they changed their, did they change their, from, you said they changed it to a different location, or?
No, it's still in the same location, but instead of utilizing part of that original building, they're building it's like its own kiosk, very similar to like what you would see in Grand Forks. So,
Right,
Well, the resolution, it was in the consent agenda, so I think we'll still need a motion for it. So,
okay,
all right, further discussion? Roll call, please.
Jurdy,
aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Alt,
Aye.
Clat, Hibma.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And lastly is
Last one.
806.
8.06, resolution regarding conditional use permit with respect to parcel 82.00169.00.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve this resolution?
605.
So moved.
Thank you, Henry. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Wendy. Discussion. Now, this is regarding on Second Street there, and on the backside of the Janicki building, which is Gold Mart rental. So there's 3 apartments upstairs, there's one in the basement, there used to be where, the development of this area used to be a salon or a barber shop, I think, Express Jobs office was in there once upon a time for the, to hire for, the beet harvest. And the gentleman that came to the planning commission wants to turn this into an apartment.
so that being said, what does our comprehensive plan say on apartments on,
First floor.
Yeah. Our the granting of this conditional use would violate the comprehensive plan. I've spoken with city legal on the matter this afternoon, and Tanner had identified that it should be a rare occurrence to go against your comprehensive plan, because that does direct how we want our development to go, and that there should be an extremely compelling reason why we would want to violate our
So what's the
comprehensive
compelling
plan.
reason?
That would be from, the owners have attempted to rent the parcel or the piece of property for 2 years for a commercial purpose and have been unable to do so, and they're requesting to be able to use it for residential. The rationale that Tanner had put forward is, if we violate our comprehensive plan in this instance, it does not necessarily need to be a similar case for someone to argue in another instance that, well, you violated your comprehensive plan in this case, so therefore you should allow us to do this other thing, which is also in violation of your comprehensive plan.
So do we have are we looking at updating our comprehensive plan anytime soon?
We are. We're
It's
waiting
in the
for what?
process.
Yeah.
We're in process, Delane. What are we waiting for on that?
We're waiting for, if I can, if you ask us update, I address that.
Yep.
You said
Yes,
a
please.
Just to address that, there's been a transition, obviously, in City Hall, and the comprehensive plan is in process. We held up because we've been doing that emerging small Minnesota communities process, and we want to add all the input from the community into that plan, so it could be updated tomorrow, Delane, or it could be, and this should definitely be part of it if this is the direction that you guys want to take with downtown. That part has not been specifically noted, like nobody has brought up, hey, we want to do this downtown. So, but it should be, it can be at any time, but I would recommend waiting until we finish up the emerging small Minnesota communities grant process.
I would like to suggest we table this until our comprehensive plan is done.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think my other concern is that if we're saying that the extreme circumstances that they can't rent it out, you could say that for any other property in town. I mean, we have a lot of empty first floor buildings too, so like, is that really a severe, request that we're violating our comprehensive plan? And at the end of the day, I think that if we're really gonna take a hard look at our downtown, that we need to have like a better understanding if this is a direction we're gonna go and not like a one-off situation.
Elaine, is that a motion?
I would like to hear from
There's a
Randy.
motion and a second, but we're discussing it now.
Discussion. Please.
I'm Randy Bosma, Up North Investments. We've owned that property for approximately 2 years and tried to rent it. I've tried everything to rent it. It's not rentable. Previous to me owning it was Jane Emmons, Trek Properties. It is not an available rentable spot. It's not on the street. It's not on the main drag. I've been in contact with Aluma, and they are begging me for more rentals. It would give us the ability to do a handicap rental. There's a guy that lives upstairs that has heart conditions, and with the amount of stairs they are in the Janicki building, Aluma has asked me to extend this property downward. It is on a back street. Like I said, Goldmark is on the main drag. I can understand that if you're driving down. This is a secondary street. There is no traffic. There is no walking. You're not gonna walk past this property on the side and go anywhere unless you're heading to the railroad track, It's not part of the downtown community as far as a business. If I'm a businessman, my partner Mike is also a businessman, and it's not an area that you would wanna put your business because there's no frontage, there's no, what's gonna bring you to that location?
It is the whole building, like the whole site.
It would be on,
Like that parcel is the whole thing. It's not just like a secondary back. It's all the way to the front on Goldmark.
no,
I mean, that's what we have.
that's the outline of
That's the outline of the whole building.
building.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't it just be the one thing then?
Upstairs is three apartments. Goldmark is on the front drag. I can understand that would be different, That's part of your development of trying to get a business in there. but this is off around the side, and it shouldn't be included, in my opinion, in part of the,
Cause west of Goldmark is the stairs to go upstairs. I've never been.
okay, so the front of the building is Goldmark.
Yeah.
They have their office there. Behind that, there was a picture in the committee, meeting, and that outlined the exact spot. And it's basically, there's a walk-in door and then 3 windows. And then behind that, further west of that small area there, is the stairs that go upstairs.
Okay, and then west of that was the old docks place.
Docks building, that is vacant, evacuated. Right.
I guess my other question to that, then, if that is the case, that it's not Main Street facing, like, it just says first floor apartment, it doesn't clarify, like, it would just be that side suggestion, so I guess I would like to have like further clarification in that resolution if if we are to agree upon it and it's not something that's facing the Main Street. Cause I don't want this to be something that, like, due to like a loophole, they're then able to have.
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I mean, we have a comprehensive plan for a reason, and I feel we should try to follow it, or else why have one at all? So I mean, either wait until the next comprehensive plan comes out and see, you know, situations like this are.
For the committee meeting, it was very specific. I mean, they had it squared out to the exact area of where the apartment would be. There was another one that was approved on Fletcher, which is an off-street, not on the main drag.
Yeah, and I think the one on Fletcher, don't quote me on, but I think that one was done before we even had a comprehension plan.
Is this the entrance right here?
Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's, can you get over here?
So if this is a
This
no,
is the entrance and it's this
It'd be all of this here.
section.
do you have any
This is
problem
all Goldmark.
Okay.
if they decide to do, go? Pardon? If this is agreed upon, is that allowing us that he could come back and ask to do the same with the Goldmark portion?
No,
I don't feel that the Goldmark would be a suitable apartment. It's front, I mean, you're right on the front street, you got frontage, you have businesses lined up. That would not suitably fit an apartment.
Okay, second question is this subject to rental inspection?
Of course.
Shane?
And we have to follow planning and zoning.
Yeah, it says that on here too, that it has to be approved and has to be, follow subject to state and city rental license requirements.
The reason that you feel you can't rent it is because of where it's located, or is it the setup of the unit, or?
It would be the location and the setup. Like I said, there's other,
please come to the mic, please, Mike.
My name is Michael Granowicz, I'm with Up North also. One of the things, Randy, we talked about is even renting it out as storage. And no one, everything.
I've tried,
And
massage therapists, I've tried tattoo artists, I've tried anything that would be interested to go in there, and there's just no interest there. I mean,
you know, of course, you know, we want to invest into the building, and it's logical for us to keep it what it was.
and with the Luma, they're
And-
begging for
And the
me
thing,
to add.
one thing we gotta add too is, the rentals are anywhere from like $650 a month. And what business, you know, I'm not knocking the clientele, but we have a source to rent it.
For affordable housing.
Exactly. And we would love to see a business move in there, but we have no options, and if we invested some money into it, we could easily rent it by the spring of the year.
I've asked the city, you know, if they're looking for
So-
any extra offices, planning and zoning. I've talked to Aluma, I talked to F5, which is a felon, they're looking at expanding into Crookston. There's no interest at all. The only interest I have is Aluma and Tri-County, needing places. for low.
Carrie, can I ask, from my understanding and from our meetings and our research, we're good with low income, it's the market
Workforce.
rate.
Workforce housing.
Or workforce housing that we're.
So our housing study says that we have 100% of what we need for low-income housing. However, I talked to Maureen Ham about a month and a half ago, and because rentals are so short, a lot of people are dropping their Section 8 housing, and they're going to full market rate rent because they can get it right now. So there has been you won't see it in our study, but there has been a drop in the low-income area, like what Illuma needs and what Tri-Valley needs. So that has happened as a recent, like in the last 6 months. So that's a reality that is there.
You know, I know back when we decided to put an apartment on Fletcher, and that was, I think it was before the comprehension plan. I mean, council was really in a struggle because they're thinking that was, you know, good for retail area, and it turned out it really wasn't. And Randy and Mike are in the same position. I mean, for anybody to move retail, that wouldn't be a prime spot to be for. There's just nothing there. I mean, you've got a space for possible retail that they wanna recondition, and then you have the old docks place, and after that, it's nothing, it goes straight to the tracks of the river. You know, I hear where they're coming from, I know it kinda goes against our comp plan too.
The only thing that gives me pause is what we're seeing in front of us. What we're seeing in front of us is the entire building, which includes the Goldmark area. So if they go and sell it, and we already said, well, this parcel can do this, and then the people who come in, well, it was already approved, they can make that an apartment. Even if they don't want to. If we could make this parcel very specific to what they wanna do, like they said that the board had seen, I think that would be okay. But what we're seeing in front of us is all the way up to the frontage on Main.
Yeah. So this 202 Second Street West, is that the whole building or is that the one specific?
That's the whole building.
Okay, so that's the thing. So I think we're looking for something that's very specific to this particular property or section of the property in this resolution.
Do you have a copy of the planning and zoning?
Well, we just got the resolution and expect regarding.
We have, yeah, the resolution in this picture.
And I didn't bring the paper with that, I think Mr. Clot was there and seen it. It was very specific. I mean, it's squared out to a walk-in door and 3 windows.
Yep, I remember.
But still, regardless, it goes against our comprehensive plan. So I mean, that's my only point. I mean, I don't like having these comprehensive plan and then just arbitrarily just going against it. So either we table it until the new comprehensive plan comes out, or, I mean, either that or it doesn't have my support to do it, because I don't wanna.
Right, and I know at planning too, I brought up that it went against the comprehension plan, and they continue to do, the board, planning commission continue to discuss the idea,
Tabling it was, time is kind of the essence. I have a contractor that's ready to start on it. We're just waiting for the permit. Like I said, it could affect the budget. It also brings in housing to Crookston. It brings in money to the local businesses as far as the plumbers, electricians. I think it would be in the council's best interest to approve it and get something going downtown there. It's a perfect location for an apartment. It's in an apartment building.
The other issue that was brought up during planning was parking. And there doesn't seem to be, parking for this particular slot.
There's plenty of 12-hour parking out front. If you look at the planning and zoning paperwork, if you look at the picture that was taken in the middle of the day, there's 2 cars there. There is also free parking, 24-hour parking along the railroad track property. I don't foresee parking to be an issue of any sort. I've talked to the guy that owns the business across the street, the antique store. He is putting in apartments above. his only question was as far as the snow removal, it's a city street, who does the snow removal? I have not personally done the snow removal, I've never gotten a phone call about it. If the snow removal of the parking spots is our responsibility, it's a city street, we do all the city sidewalks. That was his only issue, and if it's a problem, we'll just have to get some snow removal, but that's beside the point. There is plenty of parking.
Further discussion?
I would just like to table it and at least get a more specific resolution to that one particular area, similar to what Henry said, and not being the whole building. I think that sets us up for a bad place. And I also like to review the comprehensive plan and seeing if, you know, if we're really clearly stating that it's something that's, you know, along that main street, facing the main street versus those side streets. Because that, you know, could also be something to consider going forward, if that's not as big of an issue with these types of things, to address those and consider them going forward.
I agree with that.
But for sure, you know, anything that's facing Main Broadway, I think are pretty important.
I know we got a motion and a second, but I would like to make a motion to table it until the comprehensive plan is updated.
Can we don't know when it's updated, could we have,
There's a second for that.
could we see what the writing is now in the comp plan and go off that, and then have Greg have a more detailed area of where it's gonna be and change the language regarding that this property doesn't affect Main Street?
We can do that with the motion.
Does that work?
I'm fine
And then
with
we
that.
can bring it back in,
I'll second the Lions motion.
bring it back in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so we're gonna look at what the comprehensive plan says now.
Well, in 2 weeks, have that language here, see what the comp plan actually
So,
says on
okay,
it.
let's just assume that it doesn't go along with our comprehensive plan in 2 weeks. Do we,
Then you make the decision.
okay?
What would be before this body would be, do the current conditions and the inability to rent the position, given the location of the subject property and the conditions in front of it with the rentals above and below, the question before this body, is that a compelling reason to deviate?
You
to
just kind of
deviate
said
from
that
the
our city attorney said it kind of wasn't.
That, well, he had said that you need a compelling reason, and that is the question that we have before this body. Is what has been presented in your minds a compelling reason?
Okay,
I guess too, you know, I wish the language in the comp plan on this specific thing would have been at the planning too, and it wasn't for the board to take a look at.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is you said that address, the 202, that's the entire building, including
Yeah.
Goldmark, is that what you said? So I mean, I think that has to be updated either way.
Yeah, for sure.
And just as, we know that, we have.
No, I'm saying for our,
No, I know, I
even if you presented something to the
Yeah,
planning.
it didn't
100%
get to
correct.
us.
He brought up a very good point. 2 years from now, we could say, hey, the Goldmark, we're turning it into a 3-bedroom apartment.
Can they rescind?
That's not our intentions.
Yeah.
Our intentions are just to put some money into the
They can rescind the
beauty
But if it were
shop.
sold, then it's,
Exactly.
so.
And even with the contract for deed, there's two, you know, there's two different sides to the building.
Yeah, and even if the
So I
address is like
think two-
Suite A and Suite B.
You
I
got
think
201
it's listed.
Main, but that doesn't show up on the county website. That's one address, and the other address is Second Street, which is the entire building. And then,
We understand. I guess we'll just table it then.
Okay, who made the motion in the second?
For the
Delane and then
tabling,
Dawn.
Delane and Dawn.
Delane
no,
and
no,
Don?
not the initial.
The tabling?
Tabling.
No,
No, the original,
Oh,
Oh, I made the motion.
okay, Henry, and who seconded?
I
It
believe
might have
was
been me.
Wendy?
Wendy, yeah.
So would you rescind your motions?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that way we don't have to vote on this. Now we'll have a motion to table this for 2 weeks.
Yep. I made that motion and Don seconded it.
Okay, we got Clayton and Don to second the table 2 weeks. So, you know, I don't really wanna wait for the new comp plan. I know I'd like to see what they have to say just a minute. They got probably contractors lined up, so I really don't wanna keep them in the dark.
Exactly.
So, I mean, the best we can do right now is bring it back in 2 weeks.
Is 2 weeks okay with you?
Did you have anything else to say?
I
or
just have a
share?
question. Am I to understand, so I'll follow up right away with the comp plan, but am I to understand if for some reason they haven't addressed that you would like our comp plan to address that? And if so, I think Jeff and I could have a conversation what he wants that to look like. Are you good with that?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
absolutely.
All right. Further discussion? So we got a motion to table for 2 weeks. Roll call, please.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
I,
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier. Aye. Alt,
Aye.
Clat,
Aye.
Hibma.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Would you like us back in 2 weeks?
You're more than welcome, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question. On these 3 items that I pulled out, I mean, obviously, I think there was some additional information that we needed to discuss. So I'm wondering, why was it buried per se in the consent agenda rather than put it on a regular agenda item so it could be discussed by all?
Yeah, I believe the decision, well, I believe, the decision put up is as many of, this was one item that had not been discussed, but the other items had been discussed on a few occasions prior, that we felt that they were, the staff and I felt that they had been ironed out, that they would be generally non-controversial. And I will own that on this particular item, it should have been a regular agenda item.
Yeah.
And I will own that.
That's right.
Right, thank you. Moving on, reports. Jeff, please.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, budget is moving forward. I've spent the lion's share of this week meeting with department heads. We do not have a Ways and Means this evening. However, I do anticipate the calling of a special Ways and Means for next Monday so that we can begin our deliberations of our new budget, where I'll have a draft to present to the council so that we can begin trimming.
Tuesday?
Next Monday is
Tuesday,
Labor.
yes, that is correct, Tuesday. Other than that, we are moving forward with some staffing. The HR position with the city has been posted, and I have some interviews scheduled for this Thursday. Councilmember Hibma has agreed to sit in on those. I feel that that would be a valuable insight with her HR background.
I think Wendy being in HR might be invaluable as well, since she is actually HR.
Oh, I apologize, yes. I don't need a quorum, but if you are available, ma'am, you are most welcome to sit in on Thursday. 9:45 is the first, and 11 is the second that we have in place. Other than that, again, my week has primarily been working with department heads on the budget. I've touched base with both fire and police chiefs. We do have the union negotiations coming forward soon. I anticipate those will begin in the next week to 10 days. Outside of that, again, as a reminder, I will be out of the area tomorrow and Wednesday. I'll be back on Thursday morning. And continuing forward, if you have any questions, I'm available.
Okay, thank you. Shane, anything?
No report tonight, Your Honor.
Thank
Can
you.
I just get clarification? So we're thinking that we're gonna have a meeting next Tuesday for
Well,
budgets?
Yes, ma'am?
Okay. Is everybody available for that? Just wanna make sure that we're all, okay.
Do we think that we'll start having weekly meetings like we did last year?
yes,
Or schedule it? Okay.
all our,
I would just like to know in advance, since there's a lot of us who have a lot of other priorities, that we're making sure that we can make those. So if we could actually get some dates like
I'm
solidified
looking
here.
at every off Monday for budget, and then even probably a budget discussion after our regular council meeting.
So are we thinking 5:30 then on our off Mondays then too?
We can do that.
Okay,
Or do
I
you
just
wanna
wanna
do-
make sure that.
Or do you
just have
wanna
it
go
down.
later?
And I can send out a calendar invite to all, so that way it
Yeah.
would be a good reminder.
I mean, 5:30 is good for me.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, so 5:30 moving forward.
Can we also, like last year, have those budgets sent forward and then, like we did, and then have the questions already sent? I feel like it moved a lot quicker the later on we got and had that system rolling.
Yep. Got all that, sir?
Do we have, the number as far as, I mean, last year earlier in the budget process, and I don't know if we have that number now, what 1% levy means as far as dollars of tax?
Capacity.
Our tax
I mean, it
capacity,
changes each year, doesn't it?
Yeah.
yes, this year we lost about 200,000 in tax capacity. We went from approximately 5.1 million to 4.9 in tax capacity.
I don't expect you to have the answer now, but when we start the beginning of the process, it'd be nice to know what each 1% of levy means as far as dollars.
Approximately 49,000. 4.9 million times 0.01, sir.
$49 or 49,000.
Yes, sir.
Wow, wasn't it last year like 20?
I thought it was 32.
I thought it was low 30s.
Yeah, low 30s, like 32.
Oh, you might be right.
I'm sure there are some tax incentives and all that play into that.
I think
The tax
also-
capacity is a little, yeah.
Yeah. I think, Jeff, we were talking to that the percentages maybe not presented quite accurately last year as well. So that should be considered too.
Yeah, some of the formulas in the sheet that I've identified were not accurate. As an example, the change over previous year was entered into a spreadsheet as X divided by Y, when in reality, the percent change formula is X minus Y divided by X. So
The formula wasn't
it
correct.
changes some of the final numbers slightly.
Okay.
Okay, Brandon, anything? No report, Your Honor. Thank you. See, Greg is not here. Jake? No report, Your Honor. Gary?
I wish I could say no like everybody else. I do. I just, Michelle, I think she forgot to say, Ross Ayer is going to be doing an art and wildlife presentation at the college in the Badine Ballroom, and that'll be September 23rd through 28th. So if you've ever seen his art, he's pretty amazing. So if you'd like to join him there. We'll have a Meet the Candidate. There's been our Jolt and Jive group has been working to do a Meet the Candidate because the chamber just doesn't have the capacity, so we reached out to them and decided that we're just kind of a loose community group, we're different entities, but we have put together a Meet the Candidate group for October 2nd from 6 to 8 at the Keel Auditorium at the college. If you go out to register to vote, you'll get a survey for what you'd like to hear from your state candidates, your county candidates, your school board candidates, and city council, of course. The questions will be compiled online. You can send in suggested questions. You'll see a lot of this advertised here in the next week or so, so there's nothing out there right now. And then we have graciously gotten a volunteer to take all of those different surveys and to put together and to develop the questions for the candidate. And then we have another person from the college will be our moderator. We are just kind of the boots on the ground facilitating just to get the ball rolling with that. So we're excited about that. If you want to be part of developing the questions and you do not have anything to do with the city, the county, the school, what did I miss, or the state, you are welcome to contact me and we'll help you put together the questions on that. We are working hard on housing. We know that housing and childcare are the two hot buttons. So we have been meeting consistently and we've had the different meetings in Grand Forks, and then we did follow-up meetings with some of the presenters at the Grand Forks Housing Summit. And there's a couple of things that will be coming up. We'll be working on local housing trust fund, which will be $150,000 request from deed to match $150,000 of ours. This will be funding out of the EDA. This ought to be my department over there, not out of the city funds. And that's one of the ways for us to start to develop housing. There's also local land trust. There's just a variety of things. So if you want to hear more about the housing options that are out there and ways to fund it, we'll be talking about that tomorrow morning at our EDA meeting. We keep complaining because nobody's going to help us with housing, but we found that there is a way to get help with housing, but you have to really work the systems. And that's going to take a little bit of digging in there. So tomorrow morning, if you want to be there at 7 o'clock, drink a lot of coffee. But there's a lot of good options, so I don't want to complain about not having, and Mountain Dew, right? I don't want to complain about not having access to housing, building housing, if we don't at least look into what we're doing. The childcare, we all went on, a good group of us went on the Warren tour. We toured the Warren Childcare, where the city built it, and they completely paid it off 100% in their own funding. It was an absolutely great tour. We're very thankful to Warren for letting us take that tour. We took their model, we kind of put some wheels on it, and we're looking at pursuing that in Crookston as well. So if you hear us talking about childcare, my department will be focusing pretty hard on housing and childcare next year. And that will be reflected in my budget request, of course, you know, because we want to make sure we get it funded so we can get it done. Other than that, I think that you'll hear everything tomorrow morning if you want to show up at our EDA meeting. So, any questions?
What time was the candidate?
6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Just briefly, we'll kick off with the state, the two running for the state to replace Deb Kill as she was retired. So thank you, Deb, for your service. We'll kick off with them, and then we'll follow up with county commissioners. So those from Polk County who aren't from the city, they can talk to the state and the county candidates, and then they can actually leave the building if they want to. Then we'll move on to city council candidates. And then we'll finish up with the school board. There's 7 candidates for the school board. That's fantastic. So we're excited that everybody turned up to run because at least we're getting some good dialogue going. And so we'll spend most of the time with the school board to ask them questions. And then we'll wind up there.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Darren, anything?
No report tonight, Your Honor.
All right. Ian?
Evening, everybody. Just want to start off with just announcing that our fall 2024 publication for the City of Crookston is currently available right now. That's available online on the City of Crookston website, and then it's also available physical copies as well at City Hall as well as Crookston Sports Center. Those are free to take if you ever see them around town. Also working on this week, dropping them off at different public areas like the public library and other places as well, so working on that this week. We got 2 events that are going to be coming up here next week that were in collaboration with myself as well as the folks over at Jolt and Jive helped me out with that as well. So just as a reminder, those are meetings every Thursday at 8 a.m. at the Cove. We have another Wednesday on the Water event that's going to be going on September 4th from 6 to 8 p.m. Pivoting a little bit from canoeing, but we are still doing nature-themed events. We're going to be doing hiking and fishing over at Bob's Ponds. Organization Get Kids Outdoors are going to be providing fishing rods for kids as well who want to come out and fish over there. And it's going to be a really great event if you're looking to get active. And we'll see you guys out there on September 4th. Also in collaboration with Jolt and Jive, we're going to be organizing the King of Trails citywide garage sales. We put out earlier this week, or rather the end of last week here, that open registration is open right now for anybody that would like to register. That's going to be going on through September 4th, and then we're going to be distributing maps and locations of everybody that registered on September 5th online, as well as at different local gas stations, as well as at City Hall. And then that's going to be, the King of Trails is going to be going on September 7th. We have an online registration, but we also encourage everybody to reach out to City Hall as well, so you can register either of the 2 ways there. And then the final thing here is just wanted to touch base on the trash survey. Over the past week, I had a chance to review all of the results with Chuck and just wanted to review some of the common trends that we found. There were over 550 people that took the overall survey, so I just want to thank everybody that's put in their opinion on the matter, and we had some really great results, and Chuck and I had a lot of data to go through. Probably every written response had at least 200 answers to go through, so we had to read through a lot of different written responses. Just the largest demo of people that shared their opinion was adults 30 to 44 at 45%, followed by 60 plus at 26%. 22% of the respondents used the city bags, and there was almost no positive feedback about the bag system. Some of the common complaints were bag prices compared to normal garbage bags, as well as them being ugly, sitting on the corner, as well as animals getting into them. The other 78% of respondents use the transfer station. And while there are people that are okay with the system, there are still plenty of complaints that came in through written responses, and mainly being limited hours. There were lots of written responses of people curious why Crookston doesn't already have trash bins in place already. When asked if you were to either be strongly for or against a trash bin system being brought to the city of Crookston, 52% of respondents were either very likely or likely to support a service, with another 14% being neutral. While there were 33% of respondents that were either very unlikely or unlikely to support a change like this, a common trend through written responses as well as conversations I had with folks throughout basically the 2 months that we were doing the survey is that more people were unlikely to support a overall citywide mandate as opposed to it being an overall optional service. Most written responses pretty much confirm that. Most written responses as well as verbal conversations confirm that most residents are okay with the service being an option rather than a mandate, and that if people can still bring their bags to the transfer station or use the bags and it wouldn't cost them anything additionally, then they would be okay with the service being provided even though they wouldn't use it themselves. So based on that and community feedback, Chuck would recommend moving forward with bringing garbage bins to Crookston. I don't want to speak on the implementation, how that would be executed. That would be more of a Chuck conversation, and I know that he plans on touching base on that next city council meeting. But those are the overall results that we found over the survey over the past couple months, and that's all I have.
Thanks, Keegan.
These are really nice. Good job on this.
Thank you.
Okay. Holly, 3 question marks behind you. Would you like to add anything tonight? No. All right, thank you. Lance, anything else to add, please?
Your Honor, members of the council, just a brief update. The auditors were back on site last week, working to wrap up the audit as quickly as we can here. This week, I'm just working through a few of their last open questions that they have, and I'm also working on drafting the year-end financial statements. We should hopefully have drafts by the end of next week, and then hopefully the audit process wraps up quickly after that. We're still on track, to meet the September issuance deadline. So still on track there. And then looking forward to switching gears back to 2024 and focusing on getting that everything caught up in 2024. And then looking forward to supporting Holly, in the transition and the rest of the city. So
what is the expectation of getting monthly financial statements?
As far as a timeline, I can't give you a solid timeline. There is some catch up that still needs to be done in 2024. Obviously, the focus right now is trying to finish up the audit. So most of my time is going towards that, trying to meet the deadline here.
So what is the deadline?
September 30th. We want to make sure we're issued by September 30th.
So that's the final deadline.
Yes.
So what is your, how do you feel that everything will be done by that date?
As long as nothing unforeseen comes up, auditors, sometimes you can open up a can of worms sometimes. If that process, as long as that wraps up as expected,
So what is you and your agency, what will you and your agency do if the auditor does open up a can of worms to make sure we make the deadline by September 30th?
We will work as hard as we can to meet that deadline. The challenge obviously is, as discussed earlier, with all the turnover at the city, there's a lot of institutional knowledge that is missing. So, as things come up, that is really the challenge, is figuring out, piecing together that puzzle. It takes a little bit extra time just because we don't have that historical knowledge. So, we're trying to do that as diligently as possible and keep things moving. Obviously, most of our prep work was done in anticipation of what the auditors were going to ask. We don't know everything they're going to ask. And so I think we've headed off most of that, but there's always that chance that,
So you understand my concern.
Absolutely.
Last, whenever we started doing business together, June 30th was we thought, and then I don't know what the second one was, and
September 30th is like the actual, cannot go past that without having some type of
Right, and
negative
that's-
consequence for the city.
Yeah.
But in the future, we would like to actually hit the actual deadline and not the extended deadlines, and these are the extended deadlines.
That is absolutely the goal going forward and trying to get the city back on track. You know, as we're going through the process, there's always things that come up, unknowns, you know, especially, like I said, with that turnover, you know, there's just things that take a long time to get caught back up. So doing the best, you know, trying to get things as clean as possible.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Delane, anything?
So, one of the questions, I'm glad that, we have the results of the garbage study. So we budgeted last year for an arm, an extension or something for the garbage trucks and bins. And we're coming up on September and I haven't heard anything about that. Where are we at with that?
Chuck and I met about that during the budget. His intention is to move, and I've instructed him, it was a budgeted item. Based on the outcome of this survey, I have instructed him to move forward with the purchase of both the arm and the cans.
Okay,
And would this be cans for everyone, or would these be cans for those like selected individuals who are interested in actually having them?
I can't speak, my memory fails as far as the exact number, but he is intending on buying, there's a heat stamp that embeds in the plastic, and his initial purchase is gonna be without, as a trial error, we can always add later. But I forget the exact number.
So the other-
I can reach out and get back with you about
the
that
other
number.
thing I wanna look at is I wanna make sure that we have our ducks in a row. Because it's obvious from the study that the colored bags are not popular.
No.
So what would it look like in our city? And I think I know the answer, because right now we have a garbage truck driving around the whole city picking up less than 10% of these colored bags. What would it look like if we went away with the colored bags and just went with regular bags? Now everybody all of a sudden has a bunch of bags to pick up on the curb. Do we have the staff to do that?
Not only the staff, council, members of council, sir, one of the items that I would like to point out is that a complaint from the residents was the cost of the bag as opposed to other bags. I think what the disconnect is, part of the cost of those bags that we have pays for us to pick them up.
Right.
So they are going to be more. If we went to a standard bag, there would be no way for staff to differentiate who is paying for the service versus who went to Walmart.
How much is it that, again, I know these numbers are somewhere and you probably don't have them now, but it was like, was it 200,000? It wasn't that much on
For what?
what the purchase of the bags were for in a year.
Like what the revenue generated?
Yeah, what
Is
was
that
the
your-
revenue generated?
I don't know.
And with that, what if the revenue generated from the bags was X and we increased the garbage to cover X and just got away with the colored bags and then just,
I think we have to move for efficiency and to remove constraints and like staff moving down the line and picking up and adding this arm, I think just get rid of the bags. I mean, if people would like to use the service, this is a service option. If you don't wanna pay for that service, that's great, go to the transfer station. I think,
Yeah, and I thought part of the conversation was that people would elect to have a can and that there would be a annual fee for that can, which would replace the bag cost, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't that kind of what we were talking about initially, Brandon? It's all your fault.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, the intent is to have like a $10 to $15 per can fee, so that would replace the bag fee from, I've been helping Chuck get this started, so. I don't know if you remember, there was a few elderly, residents that, didn't want a can because of the large can, and they would rather bring a bag down to the curb, so.
so my question is, and this comes into budget and ordering, I know in a lot of cities, you get, based on your house size, and your usage, you get a different size can based on that size, and you pay a different rate for that. So I, as a family, am going to opt in and choose the large can, and then, you know, a lady, an elderly lady that it's just her and she doesn't go through a lot would have a smaller can, and I know that's how most cities typically do that, but again, it's mandated for everybody and all of that, but.
Yeah, and this, I mean, this is a different, you know, if it was my decision, and I don't know where Chuck's head is at right now, so I'm hesitant to even say where my opinion is, because I don't want to contradict his. But, you know, the truck is, the can dumper is going to be in the center of the truck. It's not like a truck that you pull up and it's an automated truck. There's going to be a guy on the back of the truck that has to grab the can, bring it to the arm, and dump it into the truck, because that's, you know, this was our trial phase. It's adding to our current truck. So, you know, if it was up to me, I would keep the bags for right now, because the guy's on the back of the truck anyways. And if you know, if people want to use the bags, they have the option. If they want the can, they have the option. They're paying, you know, for, because a bag is, the small bag that the elderly people are using is
Well, I think probably as a budgetary item is maybe we need to look at a truck that picks these up. I mean, we need to pull the trigger here. I mean, we are a community in the year 2024 that doesn't have a garbage system for our citizens, so I mean.
Yes. Just for a reference point, and I will speak to my, you know, my limited experience, both my Florida and Minnesota cities in the past, we did have contracted service, and it was citywide. It was simply a part of the utility bill, part of the water bill, moved forward. And that was just it was just the normal mode of operation. It was a contract with Waste Management, with one of the providers in a region. They would come in. My personal household in my last residence, we had 3 different providers. It was not it was not mandated. You could do whatever you wanted to do, and you just simply paid the servicer, and the city was out of it. The county or the city just simply had a franchise fee with the providers, and then they paid the city for the privilege to work. There is many ways to solve the problem.
My frustration is I feel like we've dragged our feet so long in this that we need to do something.
I will meet with Chuck and see where we stand.
Yeah, I would say let him present first, and then we can have a further discussion on this, especially since
the
he's
truck
been.
is $1 million.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 40, that's kind of why I said, let's throw 40 grand at it, see the utilization, because if you go deep in this, you're gonna be deep, and that's why I wanted to make sure the utilization was there, because people can say all they want in a survey. Proof is in the pudding, is my opinion, and
I
that's,
think you'll be surprised that more people want it than you're thinking.
well, we'll see.
I think, too, you know, the reason for the yellow bags at the time was to encourage recycling. So I think even if we go to a can system, I'm about, you know, I recycle, so I think there should be a 2-can system for each homeowner for the recycling piece of it, instead of throwing everything in one container. Whether, you know, that's another option to further discussion with, so.
I would say probably, let's wait till Chuck's here, and then,
Yeah.
I mean, that's his kind of his,
No, obviously, we're not gonna solve this. It's been.
yeah. I understand your frustration,
Just out of curiosity, when was the colored bag adopted?
1970.
It was the 80s.
1972?
It was early 80s.
It was when I was thin and wearing nylon parachute pants.
So, question, you're new to the community. What is yours and your wife's thought about the colored bags system in our town?
Well, unfortunately, put me on the spot, sir.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I live in East Grand Forks, and we have citywide services.
Oh, you have a garbage can?
We have a can and
Oh.
citywide services.
Grand Forks has service.
It's paid on my water bill.
There you go.
crazy concept.
I'm trying to get my way this way.
Does East Grand Forks have elderly?
I believe we do.
Oh,
However, like I said, my goal is to get over this way.
I digress, that's all.
My goal is to get over this way.
No other reports, Your Honor.
All right, thanks, Delane. Wendy?
I don't know, I guess I don't think we met since we toured that Warren facility, but it was really awesome to be there and hear about all the cool things that they did there. It's a very impressive facility, so I'm glad we got to do that and looking forward to see what we come up with here, so that is about it.
Thank you. Don?
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Clayton?
Well, I'd like to make a shout out for the Oxnard Days Committee. I attended several events, very number one event. And then, again, I attended the Wednesday night on the Red, from Central Park down to the Rock Dam. Turned out to be a very good evening for some of us.
thank you.
How many were on the river that night?
I'd say 25, 30.
Yeah, still a pretty good number.
And it's a pretty good number considering that
Short run.
Yeah.
short run, and then it was kind of windy, and but it was good.
Good.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Henry?
No report, Your
Thank
Honor.
you. Christie?
I was also on Wednesday on the water, and it was good for the most part. I tried to get some pictures for Kenan, and I dropped my phone in the water, so that was sacrifice to the river gods. I just got a new one, like literally an hour ago, so that was a really long week. But it was a really great time and really good to like just meet other residents, and it's really cool to have residents, you know, talk about like seeing the city in a different way. And I really hope that we can continue to encourage individuals to utilize our waterways because they're pretty nice. And it was actually the first time I utilized the kayak ramp to like get up into the thing, and that was pretty slick. And so I did that. Also was at the last two housing meetings for the housing trust or the land trust that we have coming up or trying to do. And we're able to talk to some of those individuals with the Northwest Housing. I'm not gonna get all these right, so. Yes, so it was just some other opportunities and seeing other cities utilize similar services or those services was really eye-opening and definitely, I think, a good direction for us to start building out that workforce housing as well as market rate housing. So I'm trying to think what else I had on here. I think that was it. Yep.
All right, thank you. Morgan?
Also like to give a shout out to Oxford Days. It was a great event for what I was able to get to. Had a sick kid, so couldn't go to a lot of it, but and then also I went to Warren with Wendy and Carrie and Jeff and a few other people to tour their daycare center that they as a city built. And then they have a different organization that runs it. It was really cool to see how they thought outside of the box and how they got it funded and the solution that they came up with. It's kind of cool to see, what was it, they can serve 100 some kids?
110, was it?
110 in this one building there. Then we got to tour their old one, which they definitely needed something different. And it was cool to hear how they're serving not just their community in Warren, but a lot of surrounding communities, and how people are driving there to work now because of the solutions that they have, and it was just really cool, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna add on to the childcare part. So Warren is a town of 700. So for them to put together this $3.4 million facility was pretty amazing. Part of the funding they used, they got a low interest rate USDA loan. They raised funds throughout their community with different agricultural people, local citizens donated, and then they implemented a sales tax, which will then help them to pay back the USDA loan to keep that. And they were able to give this facility to this childcare center free of charge, except for they have to cover their own utilities, insurance, and that type of thing. So that's kind of the posture that Jeff and I have been talking about, how to look at that. And so we're kind of looking at how can we do that, but make it in more of a Crookston model. So did I say that right, Jeff?
So I know Dale and I talked today about a strategy session in the near future. I mean, I definitely think this has to be the number one topic or top two topics on the strategy session. And listen, I mean, we need to, I mean, stop just talking about it. We need to figure out whether, you know, we talked about getting a committee together, a board with some people involved that are around the community, some business people and to try to come up with some ideas on how to get this done. But I mean, we've been talking about this since I've been first started on the council. I mean, we're all feeling good sometimes about just talking about it, that it's on our top of mind, but we gotta do something here pretty soon.
It was interesting, some facts that I got. I was at a different seminar over in Grand Forks, not even related to this, and they had presented that one of the second leading causes of homelessness is to lack of daycare. Not meaning that they had like chose to be at stay-at-home or that they could afford to do that. It was they could not find daycare and they had lost their job because of it and the financial situations that it had put them in. I know, Delaney, you and I have talked, I think I've talked to anybody that'll listen to me, but I'm with you and I feel like some sort of committee or board needs to be started. And then pulling in people from different organizations. I'm happy to make phone calls and ask, but
I mean, it's gonna take, like they did, a more out of the box thinking to get this done, and I'm like, trust me, I'm like, the government doesn't fix everything, but I'm at a loss of what can be done here. I mean, without having a city-run daycare system, which doesn't sound good to me, but I don't know of any other options how we can.
Well, it sounds like they had an option. They didn't do city run.
well, they already had a 401c organization in town, right? So it was, they were also set up a little bit differently, not that we can't do something like that or find a different model. But it was nicer for them that they had an organization that was already running to step in. But again, thinking outside of the box of how can we take what they've done and other learns, we don't have to like pick up and redo exactly what they've done, but we can look and learn and see how we can fit something like that into our.
Well, and I would say, and I've said this multiple times, and I don't think it was valued in past leadership, but we need to have a strategic plan, and then we need to have steps going towards that instead of just trying to throw stuff at the wall. And I know that Carrie and her group as well
I
as
agree.
Howard Crookston.
We've talked about stuff.
Yep.
And it's on the agenda when we have a planning session every year.
Yeah.
Or every time we have one, but.
We never revisit it, right, and I think it needs to actually be a strategic plan and it needs to have steps, and that's where I think your committees can be built out, but I also think with what Carrie's doing too, the Jolts and Jives in the morning is a great opportunity for those business people who are already there, who are interested in really propelling Crookston forward. I think the Empowered Crookston group is a really good, there's a lot of groups that are already formed that could be part of this.
Yeah, I would encourage a lot of the data, we're capturing the data at every Thursday morning meeting, Delane, and we're also capturing the data with the Empowered Crookston. We're capturing a lot of this data to be able to, and then with the Jolt and Jive came out of that Emerging Small Minnesota Communities grant that we received from the University of Minnesota Design Center. So we're working with people, institutions, and the landscape designers and that type of thing to actually develop that whole thing. So there's a whole lot of things happening that can be incorporated into the strategic plan and the comp plan. So there's a lot of, just to, as we've gone through staff changes, I guess we do want to keep you guys aware of what has been happening in the history of why we're doing what we're doing.
And all I can ask is as we have these conversations, because I've had conversations with others in the community, there seems to be hard feelings from stuff that happened 10 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever, and I'm just asking that everybody, we just have a clean slate. It doesn't matter what's happened or who said what or any of that, we just move forward to find a solution.
Yeah, for those of you up for re-election, I guarantee it's gonna be a question for you folks at some point, and yeah, I have to say up until now, I have failed on that question because I strongly suggest, that I would sure help to try to get something to but here we are. I have failed in that respect.
We're on our way over the years, I've been on the council.
The only thing we've done is we've
Now it's
talked
gone
about it more
backward
often.
again, so.
We haven't done anything.
Yeah, the Warren projects, when we went up to visit, one of the questions that was asked, and I forget which of us that was there asked, but the answer was, from the time they began discussing this project till now, they opened this past week, was 7 years from the time they started talking until they opened. From the time they voted to fund and begin moving forward, it was 4 years from beginning to end. And and as was mentioned by Councilmember Hibna, they already had a 501c3 in place that was doing this. So we really need to look at that model, look at their models, and as Carrie said, make it our own. We can learn from them to condense that timeline to some extent, but we are in a position where we're starting essentially from scratch and moving forward. But yeah, I agree with you, Councilmember, Delane, if we need to get into an action phase as opposed to a discussion phase.
That 501c3 is a really big piece to that, but the biggest piece is the building. And so unless you can get a donated building or raise enough funds, which is going to take time, it will not work.
Yeah, and to build a building like what they have, I would estimate just from groundbreaking to construction, you're looking at close to a year. And that's not counting planning preliminary, or that's just the construction phase. So but if we don't start going into action phase, we're just kicking the can down further down the road.
Yep. Agreed.
Well, I just feel that daycare's, it's a three-legged stool. It's housing, daycare, and jobs. And, you know, our housing study, first paragraph says, you know, it starts with the city, and I think daycare is right up there, starts with the city, so.
Yeah.
Anything else, Morgan?
No.
Okay.
And I just opened that can of worms with daycare at the very end.
Val, thank you for being here. It's good to hear your, kind of in dire straits down there. Hopefully the community hears you and get the word out. I know a lot of people tune into us, so hopefully.
How can they donate to that, Dale?
Val, you know how they donate? Yes, come to the podium, please.
We take checks, it's lovely. You can donate through their Facebook page, you can donate on Venmo, you can donate through PayPal, and there is also a GoFundMe for us. So we're utilizing multiple different methods.
Okay.
And Val, you need board members too, don't you?
Yes, I do need some more board members. Thank you, Wendy.
And do you have any upcoming fundraisers?
We have an upcoming fundraiser the same weekend that they're doing the Historical Society. And then there are.
What's the fundraiser and where's it at?
It is at Scruffy Tales, and it's more of a children's activity, interacting with animals. And then in October, we are teaming with the veterinary students from UMC, and they do a big dog wash. Bring your animal in, get it groomed type thing that's going on. November, we're planning on a purse auction, and I honestly can't remember what was on December's schedule.
Okay.
So they're out there.
Wonderful.
Thank you for letting me come.
Thank you, Val. I'm just listening to Key, and it sounds like September 4th through the 7th is gonna be a very busy week here, so, hope everybody can take some time to do a couple events. Also, it was move-in day at the, UMC on Saturday, and I took the opportunity to go out there by Heritage Hall in the parking lot and went and greeted the parents and the students, welcomed them to the university in Crookston, and I was out there a couple hours. I kept walking the parking lot, and they kept pulling in and hung out there until there was no cars left. It was really a good time, and I enjoyed it. I think parents and the students kind of like, welcome to Crookston from the mayor. If I got any pull, I really doubt it, but anyway, it was fun and I look forward to doing it again. Just a reminder, there is no Ways and Means meeting tonight. I thank you for everybody being here.
Can I, before you do that, I just had somebody text and ask what they wanted, what they needed to donate to, so Scruffy Tails, for anybody that like came in later into this meeting.
There it is. So nothing else come before council, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.